This Friday, Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan are back to switch things up in Disney's Freakier Friday.
Totally, yes.
It's an absolute riot, and the only movie that can be described as
So much weirder than the last time.
What last time?
it's the frequel
You ready?
we've been waiting for.
That absolutely slays.
What deeply out of touch old person came up with that?
You did.
Wow.
Don't miss the comedy event of the summer for all ages. Disney's Freakier Friday in theaters this Friday. Get tickets now. Rated PG. Parental guidance suggested.
It's Wednesday Addams. I see you're trying to distract yourself from your own banal thoughts. Let me help. Here's a recording thing made of my latest root canal.
Wednesday, Season 2, begins August 6th, only on Netflix.
It's back to school season, and Clorox is donating 2 million disinfecting wipes to classrooms across America. Because back to school means things can get a little bit messy. Just ask kindergarten teacher Miss Gibson.
Give me just one Clorox wipe and I'm ready for glitter glue, exploded lunchbox yogurt, peanut butter handprints, runny noses, picking noses, rubbing noses.
Touching noses.
Thank you, Edward. Ooh, nap mats and lockers and tissue boxes. And
Clorox
scissors.
disinfecting wipes. Teacher's #1 wipe. Clean feels good. Based on unit sales data.
Pie in the Sky Media. This series contains adult language and descriptions of graphic violence throughout. Listener discretion is advised.
That's who they are, and it's what they do. So again, for me to believe that he had a dormant period of, 13 years, I do not. And I think the fact that they saw him purchasing more minutes the day or week before they arrested him, I think it proves I'm right.
Hello, Murder Chronicles Nation. We have a treat for you this week. We're going to check in on the status of the Gilgo Beach murders with one of our favorite guests, Sheryl McCollum, who goes by Mac. You met Mac in episode 11 of the Murder Chronicles, What Happened to the Dermans, where, in an exclusive lakeside community, an elderly couple was brutally murdered. And to this day, more than 8 years later, detectives still have few leads. When we spoke to Mac about that case, she was convinced that even though all this time has passed, it will be solved. If for no other reason, because people just can't keep their mouths shut.
I love me an ex-wife, honey. she gonna tell it. And she'll even tell stuff we don't even want to know about. But she's gonna tell it. You cheat on your taxes, you cheat on me, you cheat on everything. She'll just tell stuff. So, you don't ever take that away, and you don't ever take away somebody getting arrested for something else, and while they're in jail, wanting their street cred, and they run their mouth, and then they tell somebody that calls the DA that says, hey, I want to make a deal. If you'll give me less time on my cocaine charge, I'll tell you who killed that elderly couple on Lake Oconee. So I always have hope, because I've seen every single one of those examples happen.
So, last week I spoke to Mac about the suspected Gilgo Beach serial killer Rex Heuermann, the architect accused of murdering at least 3 women and is a suspect in a 4th murder. Mac has been busy on social media sharing her thoughts on where the Gilgo Beach case stands, and she was gracious enough to talk with me about it for this week's episode. So enjoy.
Good Lord. I mean, that is a loaded question, isn't it? I think we should start with where we are now, like what we know maybe, and then kind of work a little backwards and maybe work a little forward. How about that?
That sounds perfect, because he's supposed to be in court tomorrow, right?
Correct.
And what will that look like? Like, what is he going to court? What will happen tomorrow?
I'm not an attorney, but what should happen, I think tomorrow, isn't it a preliminary hearing? And I think it's going to be the first time we hear exactly what they have and exactly how they got to him. And he's going to probably enter a plea of not guilty. And it's probably not going to take all that long. And that's about it.
Okay. So why don't you start off by saying your name and title?
Sheryl McCollum. I'm a working crime scene investigator with the Metro Atlanta Police Department and the director of the Cold Case Investigative Research Institute.
And your podcast?
And I'm the host of a podcast called Zone 7.
So do you think we'll find out about all the different items that they took out of his house? And what do you think about all that? Like, as that was unfolding, what were you thinking as a CSI guru?
But I was thinking I wanted to be right in the middle of it. What I was watching was stellar police work. They were working in concert with one another. You had so many different moving parts in that thing that was orchestrated flawlessly and seamlessly. Now, you got to keep in mind, they didn't have a year to prepare. It's not like they had a plan. And when you start watching street level officers maintaining a perimeter, and you've got your crime scene people and your medical examiner, and then some of these outside experts, I mean, they probably, with that many guns, if it had been my scene, I would have brought in the ATF. That's a lot to catalog. That's a lot to understand. I would have probably let them do it. You also had, your crime scene people, they had a cursory understanding of the crimes, but what were they looking for? Bottom line is they didn't know.
So there were like over 270 guns, like not all intact guns, but different pieces.
Sure.
I mean, talk a little bit about how much work and effort that is from,
Okay. And I want people to understand too, when you're talking about things that have serial numbers and calibers and, the manufacturer and all of these things, just to document and catalog that many is going to take a team, because they have to get it right. This isn't something where you can say, well, it looks like a 40 cal and move on. No, you have to be perfect here. So again, how many did he purchase? Where did he purchase them from? Who did he buy them from? Was it a straw purchase? Was he at a store? Was he at a armory? I mean, where did he go to do this? That's going to, again, add to their timeline. And I can't tell you how critical all of these steps are. So if you've got 250 some odd guns, some might be $1,200. Some might be $50. So if you just say, we've got 250 some odd guns at an average of $350, you're talking about $100,000 that he has spent on guns, right? This is a man who's an architect that has spent $100,000 on a hobby, and his house on the front porch is being braced up by a 2x4.
What do you make of that?
He is telling you what's important to him. And men will often do that. So again, there is somebody in your audience right now that is single, that is dating somebody. He spends every waking moment playing golf, practicing golf, buying golf clubs, buying shoes, watching golf on TV. So when you get married, don't act shocked what he's doing on Saturday. He's telling you. So you can either get you a set of clubs or you can get you a hobby, because he's going to be playing golf. That's what he likes.
And what's interesting, hold on one second. What's interesting is that none of his victims, there was no guns involved.
But we don't know that.
Okay, right. We
know that they might not have been shot, but we don't know a gun wasn't involved, just like Delphi, Indiana. I believe a gun was involved. I don't believe that was the murder weapon. I think that's how they were controlled.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so again, when you've got victims that are bound, why are they going to let you tie them up? A couple of reasons. They're either not conscious or you've got a gun on them. So she's going to put one handcuffed on her and then put her arms behind her back because you're telling her to with a gun. And that's how you get her handcuffed. And the rest is easy from there. But again,
were they duct taped or were they handcuffed?
Well, remember they found a handcuff key. And again, I don't know because the handcuffs could have been taken off, but they found a handcuff key. They found rope. And that's why I'm saying at a scene like this, you don't know how the pieces of the puzzle fit yet, but you take the handcuff key anyway. You take your portrait where it looks like the woman's been beat up. You take it anyway. Does it fit? We don't know yet. It looks odd. It doesn't look like it should be where it is, right? But they've got to take everything, put it in a warehouse type room on all these different tables, and then try to figure out where do these items fit into the scenario that we understand happened.
That's a really good point. Like, they don't know what fits, and they don't know, the latest news, and I don't know if it's been debunked yet, is that, he could have been involved in another serial killer case close by. Do you know about that? Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, you're talking about in New Jersey.
Yeah.
So again, if this was my case and we were involved with what I would consider our task force, I would have a war room. And in that war room, I would have the first set of victims on one wall. I would have the other set on another wall. And here's what you have got to start to understand. Could this be the same person? One, are there similar MOs? Are there any similar signatures? Again, we don't know yet. I don't believe that law enforcement has shown all of their cards. So there's some things that they know happened to those victims that they have not released. So I would look at the Long Island victims and the New Jersey victims. What do we have? Are they all sex workers? Were they all facing east? Were they all nude? Were they all, injured with their hyoid bone? Give me something that says, yeah, these look similar. We already know there's a cluster and there's a cluster. Well, that's odd enough, right? They're in two places he's known to be. So to me, it would not be appropriate that you're not looking at New Jersey. You've got to look at New Jersey. You've got to look at South Carolina. You got to look at Nevada. You got to look at Rhode Island and Massachusetts and Connecticut. They're all right there. He could get there easy within 2 hours in any direction. So if there's another grouping, another dumping ground where the victims are within 500 feet of each other, and they're all sex workers, and they're all petite, and they're all Caucasian, and they're all female except for one or two. And again, you got to look at that too, because if you start with what happened in Rhode Island, you have one Asian male, but he was wearing women's clothing. So again, on that board in the war room, according to his computer, he searched Asian teen, right? Which is fine. He did. So here's my question. Was that searched before this victim went missing or after? And the bigger question that I have, whose clothes were they? Right? Were they another victim's, or did he come in drag? That's going to be important. That's going to be important because that would also break that MO, which they will do.
And were the other victims naked? Because if that victim had his...
Right. That's what I'm saying. So if all the others were nude, why was he dressed? So did the killer make him dress in another victim's outfit? Well, that might be something law enforcement already knows because they know possibly what somebody was wearing when they went missing. Did the clothes fit this person? Were they too big or too small? Whatever.
Do you think?
But again,
do you think they'll charge him with more stuff tomorrow, like the fourth victim, Brainerd Barnes?
I don't think so. I think tomorrow's going to have very little surprise. I think that we're going to know what's coming. This is the solid case that they've got. This is their foundation. I don't think they're going to mess that up tomorrow. I think it's going to be straightforward from the hip.
Okay.
Because they don't have to rush, right? So they've got 4. They possibly have 10. There's no reason to get in a hurry to do anything. Most people think, oh, there's an arrest, so the investigation stops. Well, that's not true. At arrest, a lot of times is when the investigation truly ramps up.
So unless he asked for a speedy trial, right? That would change that. So then they'd have to figure it out pretty quick, right?
Well, for those 4, but again, he can be charged later. You don't have to do it all today.
Yeah.
He ain't going anywhere.
Talk about the belt. I remember I saw something on social media where you'd posted something about the belt. And I was like, I didn't see that belt anywhere in the charging documents. What, tell me about that.
When they first put that out, trying to connect this belt with somebody, I thought that's going to be the thing that breaks this thing wide open. I really did. Looking at it, it looked like one of those belts from the 70s. You know how you would get the leather belt and then emboss the initials?
Mm-hmm.
And the initials looked unusual. They were shaped, unusual. So people didn't know if it was an HM or a WH, or they didn't know what it was. Because it could have been, one direction or the other direction.
Right.
But again, looking at genealogy, one of our experts said, well, his grandfather's name was William. So there's your, WH. The other thing that was unusual to me is no sibling recognized that belt. In other words, if I keep something of my father's, my dad's watch, my sisters know what that watch looks like. So it would be unusual to me that somebody in the family wouldn't recognize that belt if the person had siblings or.
Do you know if he has siblings?
He does. He's got a brother in South Carolina. That's who he was moving to retire on the same type area and, buy up a bunch of land. That's why I'm saying South Carolina is relevant to me. You can't not look at it.
What do you know about his history and background? I didn't know that he was planning a move to South Carolina.
Well, I just know he's married. He's got a son with special needs. He's got a daughter about 26, I think, that worked for him at his firm. He's got the brother in South Carolina. They were planning to retire and live in South Carolina, and they both were going to have large pieces of property that they were just going to, ride out their golden years, so to speak. And, again, his poor daughter, here she not only gets land blasted with who her dad is, she's also now unemployed. She's trying to, I'm sure, help her mother process what's going on. And, her brother, it's just a horrible situation for everybody all the way around. You've got families that now have maybe an answer, maybe a face, but then you've got other families that still don't know. They're still not connected. It's just the ripple effect is massive on this thing.
What do you think about, from a forensic standpoint, the hairs with the wife? Like, how awful is that? Like, thank God she was out of town, right?
It's so awful. Well, first of all, again, I'm going to go back to what incredible work when you're talking about a scene that is outdoors in like a marshy type area with animals and heat and everything else. And that person finds one hair on the back of a piece of burlap. That's golden work right there, is all I can tell you. Mm-hmm. And, again, the way they connected him with the pizza crust, it was just remarkable, brilliant type of work. So, I'm hearing a lot of stuff like, how in the world did it take so long? You have somebody that is very skilled at lying, very skilled at hiding. He selected 7 burner phones. He literally was sitting on just this heinous life, and 3 adult people living in his house were unaware of it. His coworkers were unaware of it. And when I tell you he had not an obsession, but he was addicted, not just to porn, but torture porn. That is something you cannot hide. It's just not. So like if somebody in a movie is getting strangled, he's going to giggle. If somebody's, being like he's watching Dexter, he's going to get off on it. Dexter is porn to him. It's foreplay. Of course, because that's what he likes. He likes the fear. He likes look at his searches. Again, when I tell you, men rarely can hide 100% of the time. They just can't. So he's probably very encouraging. Oh, go visit your family in Iceland. Take a month. Take the kids. Go. Because he's not a great husband. He needs time without you there so he can do what means the most to him. Again, their money and their time equals what's important to them. And anybody listening to me right now, if you're like, oh, I just can't believe that. If you're a mama, you can. You never go to the store. You don't think of the children. You don't go to the store and go, I'm going to get wine. I'm going to get some candles. I'm going to get all my favorite desserts. I'm going to get, what I like for breakfast. That don't happen. You're like, well, this child likes this and this child likes that. And school's starting back. I've got to get all of this together. I've got to pre-make some meals and have some, after school snacks. You know how you do.
It's a special occasion for moms to do that list. It's not something that's a day to day. It's a special occasion. Whereas this guy, that's what his world was.
And I'm going to tell you something. Even if mom is having a special occasion, what is she doing? Got to get the kids somewhere. Got to make sure they're good. You know what I mean? You still have that factor that they're right there all the time. That's not his world. He don't care nothing about that house. He don't care nothing about the wife. He doesn't care nothing about them kids. He cares about this.
Subtle results, still you, but with fewer lines. Botox Cosmetic, out of botulinum toxin A, is a prescription medicine used to temporarily make moderate to severe frown lines, crow's feet, and forehead lines look better in adults.
Effects of Botox Cosmetic may spread hours to weeks after injection, causing serious symptoms. Alert your doctor right away as difficulty swallowing, speaking, breathing, eye problems, or muscle weakness may be a sign of a life-threatening condition. Patients with these conditions before injection are at highest risk. Don't receive Botox Cosmetic if you have a skin infection. Side effects may include allergic reactions, injection site pain, headache, eyebrow and eyelid drooping, and eyelid swelling. Allergic reactions can include rash, welts, asthma symptoms, and dizziness. Tell your doctor about medical history, muscle or nerve conditions including ALS or Lou Gehrig's disease, myasthenia gravis, or Lambert-Eaton syndrome, and medications, including botulinum toxins, as these may increase the risk of serious side effects. For full safety information, visit BotoxCosmetic.com or call 877-351-0300.
See for yourself at BotoxCosmetic.com.
Leading a business today means constantly adapting. On the Executive Insights podcast, brought to you by AWS, global leaders share how they're making tough calls, testing bold ideas, and putting innovation into practice, generative AI included. If you're looking for real stories behind what's working, this is it. Subscribe to the Executive Insights podcast today, available now on all major podcast platforms.
He sits in his car alone. Neighbors say sometimes for hours. What do you think he's doing? I think I know what he's doing.
What do you think he's doing?
I think he's jacking off.
Really?
He is watching porn all the time. And again, if you look at the searches, just the list that they've published, if you've got 7 cell phones and an iPad and a computer and a work computer, how much time is spent looking things up, downloading movies, watching the movies, reading about different things? If he's not shopping or hunting, and I mean hunting for a dumping ground or a victim, he's looking at different websites. Who am I going to contact? Who am I going to call? He could have had 1 cell phone. He could have had 3. He could have had 5. He chose 7. So again, that's important to him. We just have to find out why. So are those cell phones from victims? Are they literally trophies that he's calling the next victim on? Because we already know he's good for that. He called a victim's sister from her phone. So he's twisted enough.
So that was his reliving of like a real trophy, like describing what he did, right? Talk a little bit about that from your perspective.
He's next level. This is not a guy that just returns to the scene of the crime and from a distance watches the mama fall apart and watches all the police run around trying to interview people and figure out what happened. And, the brass show up and try to speak to the media. That's not this guy. He is so manipulating and so twisted that he picked up the victim's cell phone and called her sister, spoke to her by name, and told her what he did to her sister. That's next level.
And the fact that he would check the voicemail it feels like going along your line of like he's enjoying hearing like, hey, are you there? Where are you? Give me a call. I'm really worried about you. Like,
right.
How many messages? I mean, is that what he's doing? That's what I'm thinking he's doing. Is that what?
I can tell you when he made that call, he was naked. Absolutely 100%. No doubt in my mind. This is how he gets off. This is not somebody that says, oh, choke me a little bit. No, he wants torture. So stabbing you a little bit, strangling you, maybe tying you up for hours so that he's got you so afraid of him and so afraid of what's coming. And maybe he's even telling you what he's going to do to you and exactly how you're going to die and exactly where he's going to put you. And maybe he drove you over there and showed you where he put the other victims. That is the level of person we're talking about. So it wasn't just, well, I killed somebody and that was it. This is somebody that is either watching, researching, hunting, buying, or doing all the time.
Talk about, so his last murder victim, it sounds like it was like 2010, but then there's others. Like, how he couldn't just stop based on everything you're saying. So what do you think was going on here?
I had somebody ask me, what's he been doing since 2010? Killing. So once it was put out that they located this dumping ground, he most likely found another dumping ground. And that's part of his hunting and driving and picking and selecting. Maybe he went to another state like Ted Bundy. Right? Maybe he changed his MO just enough. Maybe he changed his signature just enough that we missed it. But I think it's coming. And I think now that we've got DNA, now that we've got a face, now that some people are coming forward saying, yes, I had some dealings with him. He creeped me out, or I saw him here at this park, or I saw him on the subway or wherever he was doing his thing. And let me be clear, every single person that he fooled with and tried to frighten, he wasn't going to kill everybody. So some people, he just brushed up against them at the grocery store and made them feel weird and uncomfortable. Some people, he probably said something really inappropriate. Again, the reaction was just something he craved. That's what he wants. And again, this was who he is 24 hours a day. I often say, and it's one of my mantras, there ain't no such thing as a part-time serial killer or a part-time rapist or a part-time child molester. That's who they are, and it's what they do. So again, for me to believe that he had a dormant period of, 13 years, I do not. And I think the fact that they saw him purchasing more minutes the day or week before they arrested him, I think it proves I'm right.
What have you heard from other, people who saw him in the truck for hours? What are some other anecdotal things that you've heard about just this idea of him being super creepy? Because I read something where like a neighbor didn't want her kid going trick-or-treating over there. Like what?
I heard that. Yep.
What have you heard?
I've heard that. I've heard some teenagers say that was the house you just kind of avoided. Like if they were out trying to make money to cut grass, they just didn't even go there. I heard the Halloween, that was the house. You just crossed the street and went around. But again, that's how he would want it. You're doing him a favor by not coming there, by not bugging him, by not knocking on the door. He doesn't want you inside his house. He doesn't want you to see it. He doesn't want you to see that everything is cataloged and almost like a hoarder. He doesn't want you to know that. He doesn't want you to see anything, smell anything, ask about anything. Hey, aren't you an architect and you're having to hold your house up? That's a little weird. But then when you go in, you see this huge walk-in vault with, 3 feet of cement on all sides. That doesn't make any sense to people.
Wait a second. I missed that. What is this? So when you walk in the house, what is it?
Apparently down in the basement, they had first said there was some type of soundproof room, but then it turned out that was the walk-in vault for these guns. But in order, what he chose to do, again, he chose to do this. He could have bought safes. He could have bought 5 guns, but he wanted almost 300. So he built this cement encased room where he poured the cement. He designed the room as an architect. So, the walls are so thick. Again, he's protecting these guns from theft or to be seen. So if people did come over, let's say to work on the air conditioning or fix plumbing, they wouldn't see what's behind that door.
Crazy. Do you think that was maybe his vision to have bring victims to his home? Or do you think
it checks out for me because, again, when you're talking about torturing somebody, that's not a fast crime. So you have to have a space. Well, you can't go to a hotel or a motel and do that. You can't get an Airbnb and do it. So if you had your own place, like H.H. Holmes had the murder hotel.
I was just going to say that. Yes.
Yeah. And so, even BTK, I mean, that's something Carrie Rawson and I talked about. Her dad wanted his own place that he designed. Well, this dude is an architect. Of course, he wants his own place that he's designed in his head. Again, if he's the killer, right, it would check that this would make sense that he would spend $50,000 to build this vault.
Mm-hmm. And he knows that his wife would go out of town. So that would be something that would track too. Because
out of the country.
Right. And also that, it's for my guns. That's the explanation. It needs to be safe. Like I would buy that. I mean, not that I would buy that, but you know what I mean? Like I could see his wife buying.
Of course. And they had a son or have a son with special needs. So if he said to her, hey, I'm going to lock this room from the outside so he doesn't get in there and doesn't know what he's doing. I don't want anybody hurt. Great. That's a great idea.
Mm-hmm.
So literally in plain sight, he is locking her out of a room in her own house.
Exactly. What do you think of, I don't know if they never played the recording of the one woman who called 911 and it was like a harrowing, 20-minute call that they never released.
Right.
And I don't know which victim she is in this. But you talked earlier about what they endured, and just judging by the little bits that I've heard that were released, not much. I mean, she tried to get help and she was being chased and she sounded like she was drugged. Like what's your take on that, if anything?
Again, I want that up on the wall. I want the process. I want every single thing that I can possibly know on that wall. So again, if we didn't know how the victims were left and we just got a call that somebody left screaming from that house, I wouldn't know to take burlap. That's meaningless to me. That's something that people might use in farming or working, or I would never take burlap. In that scene, if I didn't have the bodies, that would mean nothing. Again, now that we know, and we know there's a possibility of 10 or 14 or 25, however many victims, you take everything. So if you watched what they took out of that house, yes, it was creepy, but that doll, don't ignore that. Again, how does it fit? Don't know yet. Does it fit? I don't know. Does it creep me out and possibly could have souvenirs of the victims? Absolutely. Take the freaking thing, because we can always give it back.
With his internet searches with little girls.
Yes. So, yes.
And
we know there was a baby.
This podcast is brought to you by Carvana. Got a car to sell, but no time to waste? Hop on to Carvana.com to get a real offer for your car in seconds. All you have to do is enter your license plate, answer a few quick questions, and if you accept the offer, Carvana will pay you as soon as you hand the keys over. They even offer same-day pickup in many cities. Save your time, score some cash, and sell your car the convenient way to Carvana. Pickup times vary. Fees may apply.
This episode is brought to you by Greenlight. Get this. Adults with financial literacy skills have 82% more wealth than those who don't. From swimming lessons to piano classes, us parents invest in so many things to enrich our kids' lives. But are we investing in their future financial success? With Greenlight, you can teach your kids financial literacy skills like earning, saving, and investing. And this investment costs less than that after-school treat. Start prioritizing their financial education and future today with a risk-free trial at greenlight.com/Spotify. Greenlight.com/Spotify.
There was one baby. So again, I don't know how it fits, but everything goes until I know I don't need it. I would bust out the walls. I would take up the flooring. I'm going to dig up the yard because I don't know what he's done. And I know how twisted it seems. And again, anything he researched, like the Playboy magazine, I don't hear anybody really talking about that. Okay. If you looked at it, it looked like it was in mint condition, like somebody that's a collector, right? That particular issue looks to me to be the issue that's the last nude pictures of Marilyn Monroe. That's critical to me, because again, that would put him as at a 20-something-year-old. And a lot of people have a theory that Marilyn was murdered, that it wasn't suicide. But either way, was there harm done to her? Yes. Was it violent? Yes. And then you have all the other stuff, right, mixed in. If that's a magazine that he has kept all those years and has kept it in mint condition for 40 years, I would not ignore that.
I think that you bring up some really, really interesting points. What do you think about the cell phones and the connecting with the victims, and just your 2 cents on that?
If it were my case, I have to know why 7. It's important to him. Again, he took the time. He spent the money. So they're important. So they're either trophies from his top victims that he still fantasizes about because it was such a perfect event, or is it possibly each phone is connected to a different state? So you got New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Massachusetts, South Carolina. So when that phone rings, he knows where the sex worker's calling from. He doesn't even have to waste time saying, well, where are you at? Because she would think that's weird. Why do you not know I'm in Rhode Island if you want to meet me tomorrow in Rhode Island? So I don't know how they're, let me be very clear. I don't know how they're connected, but I'm just telling you, he selected the dumping ground. He selected the victim. He selected the day and the time and the event. He selected those phones as well. So I would personally want to know about them. I would also want to know what he researched on each phone. I want to know every incoming and outgoing call and text message. I want to know what photographs he took. Did he take weird selfies? Did he take inappropriate photographs? All 7 phones would be on that wall, and they would overlay for me the timeline.
So what we know is that they're all burner phones, but we don't know if
they're using the word burner, but keep in mind he can attach minutes to them. So quite possibly they have internet capability, because several of them, they have alluded to him researching and looking things up on Google. So it's not a flip phone burner phone. So he could change SIM cards. He could do, different things. But again, these burner phones, as they're calling them, and his cell phone, every now and then are at the exact same place at the exact same time.
I guess I was really surprised too that he was connecting so much with each victim according to the documents. Like it wasn't just like a one-off. Like he went to one of their homes. Like that was risky,
Yes.
I mean, it's ultimately one of the things that got him caught, because they connected the truck to one of the victims, and then the other one going to her home. And then
unbelievable eyewitness to not only know the vehicle, know it's the first generation, get the color right. Unbelievable eyewitness. I mean, that was a huge, huge help.
What do you make of that, though? It seems like he's a very meticulous serial killer, because obviously he's gotten away this long, but then that's a huge risk that, he's made mistakes.
But he's an architect. So his mind is going to be very mechanical. That shouldn't surprise anybody. And a lot of people say, well, he got lazy. He didn't get lazy. This is not a lazy man. This man will work to do these events. Okay, so he's not lazy. Does he get relaxed at times? Sure. But he got away with it, possibly for 40 years. Mm-hmm. Most people don't start killing in their 40s. So if he started killing in his early 20s, there's so many more victims out there. No
and
question.
Where did they find that belt?
With one of the victims, and I'm not sure which victim.
Okay.
Yeah, it was left, which, in his haste, it could have dropped or whatever. But again, it would surprise me if they were really questioned that somebody related to him would not remember that belt.
Yeah, for sure. Anything else that we should talk about?
Well, I mean, I think we're all in the same boat. I mean, I think we're all trying to put our theories together and trying to help law enforcement. But I will just say again, and this is something that I do want to highlight, you had your crime scene people, you had your homicide detectives, you had your medical examiner, But the biggest takeaway for me, to make sure everybody understands the professional level that scene was processed by, they had actual folks from the crime lab on scene.
Is that really, is that, what is that, how is that next level for the average person?
Well, because normally I'm going to be the crime scene person. I'm going to collect the evidence. I'm going to take it back to my department. I'm going to make sure everything is bagged and tagged perfectly. I'm going to fill out all the paperwork, and then I'm going to drive it to the crime lab. Then eventually somebody from the crime lab might grab it and do their testing or processing that I can't do. And then you've got a chain of custody. They have taken the crime scene person out of it. The crime lab took custody from there. So you don't have all these middlemen doing things with your evidence. It's from the crime scene to the crime lab.
Wow.
It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And then what you have is you've got the prosecutor. The prosecutor was there too. So you've got the prosecutor making sure all the search warrants were great. You've got the crime scene people doing all the canvassing and searching and digging and collecting. Then you've got the crime lab people taking it and processing it right freaking there if they can. And if they can't, they're taking it. So then you have the medical examiner saying, yes, that's a bone. No, that's not a bone. So it was a beautiful thing to watch.
And I think that, like, especially because there's been a lot of criticism with law enforcement in this case and the prosecutor's office and just higher level, like, you're smiling right now. People can't see, but there's been a lot of drama with this case. And it sounds like they are making sure that every single T is crossed and every single I is dotted, right?
When have you ever seen the medical examiner and crime lab people and the DA at a scene?
Well, in your experience, probably never.
I've never seen the crime lab at a scene. Never. Now, we've called people out like after the fact, kind of, but I'm saying as far as ballistics and DNA and, normally they don't come to a scene. They wait at the crime lab for the evidence to come to them. So to have them on scene was remarkable. It was a beautiful thing.
Awesome. Well, you're amazing. I always love chatting with you. Do you want to talk a little bit about your podcast and like what's the format so people can listen and hear how?
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, there's 6 police zones in Atlanta. So way back in the day before we had cell phones, we would just have to say over the radio, hey, let's 5-9 at zone 7 after the shift. So that way people listening on police radios didn't know we were all going to go meet at a bar. So zone 7 to meet, 5-9 is to meet, but zone 7 was our bar. So that's the way we.
I love that.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. Next time you're ready, text to me. 5-9 zone 7. Meet me
zone
there.
7. Yeah.
Okay.
And so zone 7 became that inner core people. So you have, everybody's heard of choir practice. Well, choir practice, anybody could show up and drink and have a good time and tell stories. Your zone 7 are only your most trusted people. So if you had a partner that you thought was on the take and you needed to really ask somebody, what do I do? Because I don't want to get hemmed up, right? Or you wanted to maybe take the next level and become a sergeant. So you wanted to talk to somebody. What is the job really? Am I going to hate it because I'm behind a desk, or can I still do the job and, have some, fun? So those are your people that have your back, that you trust, that you love, that, can tell you when you're wrong and support you when you're not. And that's how I decided to do the podcast, that whatever the case is we're working on, the person that I would have on with me is somebody from my actual zone 7.
I love it. And I think that's awesome. Well, zone 7, Sheryl McCollum, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Absolutely. I love it always. Thank you so much, Carolyn.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
The Murder Chronicles is a Pie in the Sky production recorded live in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We are produced by Brandon Morgan and myself, music by Soundstripe. For Pie in the Sky Media, I'm Carolyn Osorio, your writer and host. Thanks for listening.